Hi, everyone. I am so excited because in just a few minutes, I'm going to take you in for a tour of where I started my social service career, Della Community Services in Kansas City, Missouri. It is one of our national mission institutions. We actually own the property that Della is on and have for more than 100 years. And so our executive director, Ryan, of this organization is going to tell you more about it and take you on a tour. And I'm thrilled to be able to show you because your donations make this happen. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here with the executive director for Della, Ryan Hubnall. And you've been here, what now, 2 years? Is that correct?
Since August 2019.
2019. Oh, great. And so you were telling me about some of the wonderful work here, but one of my favorite things is the history and how Della started everything. Can you kind of tell us about that?
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Whenever people encounter Della, they said, what is a Della? The question is, who is Della? And so there's a courageous group of United Methodist women in 1897. They sought to understand their city, and they were moved by the plight facing Italian working mothers. These women wanted to work, but childcare was a challenge. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? These are the same challenges that so many in our city continue to face today. And in an incredible heart of innovation, they decided to respond. So in 1897, a group of Methodist women came together to form a co-op, an organization, a collaboration that would respond to the needs of these Italian working mothers. And that budded into one of Kansas City's first daycare centers, one of Kansas City's first gymnasiums, and from that, social services have expanded. It was in the early 1900s that a young, ambitious teenager named Della Lamb joined the team and who would be quickly named the first president of the board. And so Della Lamb is our namesake. It honors the courageousness of Della Lamb and so many others who have stepped forth to understand our city and to respond to our city's challenges.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that history. And I know that the United Women in Faith is still closely associated with you and the United Methodist Church.
Yes.
Can you tell me that they serve on your board? Is that correct?
That's correct. We have a number of active board members from United Methodist Women, United Women in Faith. And really the strength of our community has allowed us to persevere as we've overcome so many different obstacles over time. Having been founded in 1897, during the pandemic, I looked to Della Lamb and pondered her strength as she overcame so many challenges. She was our board president before the 19th Amendment was passed. During World War I, Great Depression, the Dust Bowl, all the challenges that the 1910s and the 1920s offered, Della Lamb stood. The Spanish flu pandemic in 1919, and here we are a century later, pondering the own uncertainty that we all faced with COVID-19. And so because of the strength of our community, because of so many have stepped forth over time, this was an organization that I knew endured and overcame. And so that's really the spirit as we've thought about our past 125 years and look to the next 125 years. It is a fundamental belief that we as a community can transform our city through humility, service, kindness, and the ultimate fruit of that is love.
Wonderful. Well, and you were telling me earlier about how the population has changed, but your work has remained the same. But you've had to change some of that with the type of population and the needs that they've had. Can you kind of share some of that with us?
Yes. Our city's so dynamic, as all cities are. There's change over time. And as changes happens, we have to constantly be reflecting upon how do we best honor those who are experiencing change and change our services in response to that. So one of the most recent changes that we experienced was that in 2014, Della Lamb became a refugee resettlement agency. So we have been partnering with federal and then also local state partners to welcome in sojourners from across the globe. And it's that idea of honoring our newest neighbors and seeing their dignity that we have seen an incredible effort from so many of our church partners who have said, I want to be part of this work and I want to partner in this work. As we've come out of the 2010s and some of the polarization that we've experienced related to just the dignity of people, we've been so encouraged because we've seen so many new people said, I see those who are newest to our city and I want to respond. over the course of Della Lamb's history, from 1897, when there was a large contingent of Italians who were in Kansas City, we've seen an evolution of a number of people from Central America and across Latin America. Now it's a number of people from Africa, with those who have experienced displacement from the Democratic Republic of Congo being the largest people group that we've resettled since 2015. And so the world continues to change, displacement continues to happen, and because of the community that works with us actively, we stand ready to receive.
That's wonderful. Tell us how you ended up in this position. You said you started in 2019?
That's right. That's right. You know, I think that that the Lord has us all on a journey. And as he brings new experiences and new people, he sanctifies. And so if I were to really point back to my own path to Della Lamb, I just remember having to go through a deep season of learning God's grace. And in that time, God revealed to me my own brokenness. And it's in that brokenness that he restored me. And that was a lesson of grace. But it became a true gift. And for my own walk, it became not simply a journey of what I was supposed to do or what is God's grand will for my life, but it was simply a reflection, is that, will knowing God be enough to satisfy my soul? And the answer to that is overwhelmingly and resoundingly yes. That we have the incredible blessed opportunity to be called children of God, and that's it. And that is the true satisfaction. So through this pruning, Scripture was just jumping out at me, and there is specific references to God as Father to the fatherless. And I just said, I want to know that God who is Father to the fatherless, who declares, I am Father to the fatherless. And so that took me on a different journey where I explored the world and was reflecting upon who is the one who says, those who made the world may overlook, I have declared are mine. During that journey, I visited the Middle East and experienced the displacement happening because of the Syrian civil war, and was reflecting specifically on the orphan crisis. And that's when I encountered the refugee. And it was a local church who was using their hearts and their lives simply to meet the needs of those who were coming across the border from Syria to Lebanon, that my heart was transformed. And so that became a path to Della Lamb, just to truly understand and reflect upon just one simple question: how can I be a good neighbor?
Well, take us through, if you would, a journey of either someone that was in the housing project you were talking about that's close to you here, and then, or a refugee that just is newly placed here in this community. What services would they get from you here at Della Lamb, and what would their journey be like?
Yeah, it's so unique because those experiencing displacement across the globe, it's not a one-size-fits-all story. And so trying to understand the trauma that they've endured, the path to the United States, and also their incredible giftedness that they have. That's one thing that can be overlooked, but we shouldn't overlook, is that there is just incredible dignity that everyone bears, and also incredible giftedness. And so how do we understand that, and how do we come alongside that as they're making a transition into the United States? And so for Della Lamb's part, we are the first voices that someone who has been displaced from across the globe will meet as they come to the United States. Refugee resettlement is rooted in several different concepts. One, reunification or U.S. ties. That's simply the idea that those who are displaced should be resettled in an environment where there's community to meet them, that they have relationships that exist that can welcome them and help them navigate the journey. That doesn't always happen like that, but that's the idea. The other is economic self-sufficiency. Like so many of our social services programs, it's rooted in the concept of limiting the time period of dependence upon government resources and trying to get to a place where you are economically self-sufficient. And so this concept of self-sufficiency is candidly one that I wrestle with because, of course, none of us are independent. We're all dependent upon each other. This rich community that we have on God, who is the ultimate provider and blesser. And so we work within the confines of the programs that we have. We're the first to welcome. And what does that welcome mean? That means that we identify housing, which is a challenge. There's housing shortages all across the country. And for a people group who has no work history, no credit, the number of property managers who are open to serving, and because of some regulations that exist, it's not all this property manager's fault. The number of property managers opening to receive those without credit history and employment is very limited. So already our scope of housing goes from here to here very, very quickly. And so we work with a number of property managers in order to identify housing. Once housing is secured, we welcome the family, furnish the home completely, make sure that they have the resources they need for a healthy transition, and then begin working with what we call culture orientation, which is simply an introduction to what will life look like in the United States, and employment. So housing, culture orientation, and employment, those are our first major 3 areas that we address within the first 3 to 4 months of someone arriving. And then we try and respond to the unique needs that each family has as they continue to transition to life in the United States.
That's great. So tell me what it means for you as an organization to be one of the national mission institutions of United Women in Faith.
Yeah, the being a national mission institution reflects just the broader community that we get to work alongside and that we get to work with in addressing some of the key challenges that our respective cities face. And so just as an example of how Della Lamb has been so incredibly blessed by the United Women in Faith is that we wouldn't be here without United Women in Faith. This building that we have, we've been in this same location since 1962, and that's only possible because of the United Women in Faith. And so really, it has spurred us along as we've sought to know our city and respond to the needs of our neighbors. And so as we think about the legacy of impact, we're not here unless decisions are made years and years ago that allow us to be here, to understand, and to respond. So as I think about a day of giving, a legacy day, I think about the choices that people made long ago that have allowed and given us the opportunity to understand our neighbors, to love our neighbor, and to walk with our neighbor for years to come. So this day, I'm honoring those decisions from the past. From Della Lamb's decision to serve in the early 1900s to all the faithful servants who have come alongside, been part of this organization, either here serving us hand in hand or from afar, supporting us financially with prayers and thinking about the ways that we can impact Kansas City. It's because of those decisions from a time ago that we can be here today and looking forward to how we best shape our city to respond to the needs of those in our city.
That's wonderful. Well, I know that the donors and members who are dialing in today would absolutely love a tour. Could you take me on a little tour?
It's my pleasure. So we're stepping into our child care wing. And so just as a matter of perspective, 1897, all the deep tied work with the Italian working mother population, but it was in response to child care needs. And so even to this day, that has remained a thread of who Della Lamb is and how we respond to the needs of the people in our city. So there's a message of encouragement, and there's a message of opportunity here. That if you are considering being an early education professional, your city needs you. There is great teacher shortages all across the nation, and early education is no different. In fact, as we think about how do we honor those who have made this commitment to our earliest learners, our littlest learners, there's a great need for high quality teachers. In fact, the number one quality about early education program, if you had to pick one statistic alone, is the interaction between teacher and child. 90% of the brain develops before the age of 5. You're fundamentally changing not just a person's short term, but a long term. So an investment in early education is an investment in the whole person. So it's a beautiful way to spend a life. Let me take you to our child care section. So we step through the door. This building has been here since the 1960s. And so we've been refashioning it. During COVID-19, we had a church, a Methodist church, come in and paint all of our facilities, adding a lot of vibrance and color, and really helping us honor the dignity of our teachers. And our children are here every day. And so we are licensed and accredited for 133, but currently we operate at half of that, simply because there's a teacher shortage. So like I said, if you're looking to join a new industry, early education might be the one. So as we walk down, we've really redesigned it so we can respond to both the needs of our earliest learners, which is 6 weeks to pre-K age, and then we have our pre-K wing here. One thing that we were reflecting upon is that we have to have spaces that honor our teachers. And so during 2022, we opened up a new space called the Lighthouse. Now, light represents our organizational values: learning, integrity, gratitude, health, and togetherness. So we wanted a place where our team could come together, disconnect from, imagine this, be with 2-year-olds 8 hours a day, every day. You think a good place for an hour break would be good? I think the answer is easy to that. So we made what's called the Lighthouse, and I'll introduce that to you now. This is the Della Lighthouse. This was an effort to honor our teachers. It's got spaces that, yes, are used for lunch, but also for other gatherings.
This is beautiful.
So some of the hidden things you don't see is that we have a quiet room, so for different times of just separation from the chaos of the everyday. It can be used for post-maternity leave. It can be used for prayer needs. And so we've created a room just for that. Hidden and tucked away in the center of our building is this wonderful playground. And you're seeing evidence of hard playing sprinkled throughout. Maybe evidence of a need to clean, but I digress. As part of this playground, we had a number of groups come in and invest in painting, adding some murals and new play equipment such as basketball goal, a sand pit, or a chalkboard on the side of the wall. I think that points to just a larger fundamental philosophy that we have, is that we as an agency cannot remain isolated from our existing community, because we're limiting ourselves, but rather tapping into the collective generosity and giftedness of our community strengthens our community. And so that's how we're shifting and have been shifting and really positioning ourselves as we enter our next 125 years. Is that really, quite simply, your engagement matters. How you give, how you serve, how you pray, how you love. It's so much richer when we do it together. And so, as an agency, we have been the benefactors of that from so many, whether it's through painting, whether it's through admin work, whether it's through coming alongside some of our refugee families and walking alongside them in their transition. Everything that we can do, we can connect with the agency, with the broader community as an agency to enhance the work that we do. Welcome to our social services wing. And so I'm excited that this will be the newest area that we renovate. And it's all in that vision and spirit of wanting to become distinctly hospitable. And so as we turn here, currently we see Della Lamb as a welcoming face alongside our office manager, Kadra, who Kadra has served here since 2001. And so we're excited about to open up this space. This wall right here will very soon be a non-existent wall. We're going to open up this space and beautify it so everyone who comes in will really know that we're glad that we get to share that moment with them. So currently this space helps families find emergency assistance. Our food pantry operates out of this space. We have some classrooms in the back wing where some of our refugee clients receive cultural orientation and English language learning, as well as some other services that we provide. So I'm excited because as we look forward, our next 125 years, we got to continue to respond and think about how do we honor those that we're receiving.
Our food pantry is open twice a week, Thursdays and Fridays, for the community and also for our new refugee arrivals, for emergency. We also have a personal hygiene, diapers for the newborn babies. And it's open also if we have emergency pickup for the airports. So it's been here almost 10 years, and I've been working here 20 years. It's really nice food pantry. We do get help from harvesters and also some churches. Country Club Christian Church is one of our funders. And we also have 2 volunteers that come in every Friday, 9 to 12. So we couldn't do it without the volunteers, and this is really good. And I was a refugee once, and I know how people feel when you don't have anything at home, and that takes me back and remembering when I was in refugee camp. So it's really very nice food pantry, and our donors are really also helping the community and our refugees also.
As we continue to think about Della Lamb and how do we evolve, how do we respond to community needs, in 2022 we launched our health and wellness department, which is overseen by Claire Peterson. And so Claire has joined to help us respond to not just like physical needs for our clients, but we'll also start thinking about how do we address mental and spiritual wellness needs as well. So Claire, as you've worked with so many who have newly arrived from across the globe, how important is it for different agencies and communities and groups across Kansas City to engage in order to impact those who are coming?
Well, it certainly takes a village. We have a very distinct healthcare culture here in America. It's complicated even for Americans to be able to keep on top of all the different changes and complexities. But we also have things that they've never experienced before, like ethics and rights that are important for us to articulate to every person that comes through our doors. They have the right to privacy. They have the right to refuse treatment, and also explaining what that means. But also living in the Kansas City area, having access to healthcare is a constant burden on them. In order to really thrive in Kansas City, you need access to transportation. And getting access to healthcare is something that we all should be able to do. And teaching these people how to navigate the healthcare system and even just getting to their doctor's appointments has been definitely a group effort between us and our partners here in Kansas City.
Happy to welcome you to what's really become a launch pad for how we think about breaking generational cycles of poverty. So this is a bit of hallowed ground here, the Della Lamb Community Center. And so there's classrooms here, there's a gym court here. As I said, even back in the early 1900s, Della Lamb was one of the first agencies to launch a gymnasium in Kansas City. And so for the most recent use of this building is that we have seen so many first-time college students. Our girls travel basketball program is an elite program that starts with development in an early age and culminates into a very highly competitive basketball season in their later high school years. Last year, our 15-year-olds won the national championship in Adidas's competitive league. And so much credit to Coach Tony, Maurice, who serves as the program manager, for all the investments that they do, not just in our girls basketball program, but football, track and field, our after-school programming, and all the other programs that they lead as part of our youth services department. So on this wall, you're seeing second-generation Americans who are from Somalia. You're having Afghan refugees who recently arrived in 2021, didn't speak any English, but we're hitting markers for kindergarten readiness because of the good work of our teachers. And so as you think about Della Lamb, this is the impact you get to have. This is the beauty of your service and your gift.